Hello and welcome. Gunmen attack campaign rally organized by former central bank governor Charles Soludo, killing 3 of his security aides. Lagos State government launches body cams for security operatives to curb rising cases of police brutality and extrajudicial killings. United States report on rights practices in Nigeria for 2020 indicts the government on some human rights practices, but concludes there's no accurate information on fatalities resulting from the NSAR shooting at Lekki. And French President Emmanuel Macron announces closure of schools for at least 3 weeks to fight rising COVID-19 cases in the country. Plus, we'll have business, sports, news from Abuja, and later on international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, World Bank says prospects for sub-Saharan Africa recovery are strengthening amid actions to contain new wave of COVID-19 and speed up vaccine rollouts.
On sports news tonight, Team Federal Capital Territory vows to improve on previous performances at the forthcoming National Sports Festival.
And from Abuja, federal government announces plans to spend 396 billion naira for COVID-19 vaccination in 2021 and 2022.
It was a bloody day in Isofia in Agwata local government area of Anambra State. 3 policemen were killed during a political rally organized by the former central bank governor, Professor Charles Soludo. Although security men had been under attack in the state in the past few weeks, the attack appeared to have been abated after the state governor, Willie Obiano, read the Riot Act about 2 weeks ago. Today's attack is the first to have been carried out at a political event. The State Commissioner of Police, Monday Curious, who confirmed the incident to Channels Television, says the gunman also took away the State Commissioner for Public Utilities. He, however, says investigations are on to bring the perpetrators to book.
The former CBN governor was holding a town hall meeting with the youth of his community called Sofia, Colombia, in Agwata local government area of the state. So there is some unknown gunmen attacked my men that were providing security for him. In the exchange of fire, 3 of my men were killed, but the professor is safe. However, as the Commissioner for Public Utilities, one engineer, Emeka, is the one who was abducted in the process. And my men are already on the heels of the abductors. I've since personally visited the scene with my officers and reassured the professors of the security around him. It is just cases of criminality, and we have been on the trail and we've made some arrests. And I can assure you that I am on top of the situation in the state. His Excellency, the Executive Governor of the state, Chief Dr. Willie Obiano, has also condemned all forms of criminality, and due to the same means, I have also condemned it in totality, and we have beef of security around, and also have since earlier on informed my headquarters, and they have also given me a reinforcement. So I can assure the people of the state not to panic. I am on top of the situation.
Meanwhile, the Senate Minority Leader, Eyinaya Abaribe, has been reacting to the plans by the federal government to publish the names of Nigerians sponsoring bandits, kidnappers and other criminal elements. According to Senator Abaribe, who was a guest on our program Politics Today, the federal government needs to put more effort into dealing with the problem of insecurity instead of trying to play down the matter.
Rather than call somebody a terrorist, you call him a bandit. So you sweeten the word, make it look like it's something that is less, that is more palatable to hear. I mean, these are people who are destroying the country, who are killing, maiming, doing all manners of things, and driving people away from their natural habitats. What do you call them? Then you say, oh, they are called bandits. Okay, and then the next one will now be, we are going to publish, I mean, where in the world do you fight crime by publishing names of people? Where? What you do is that when you have had intelligence and you do your investigation, what next you do is to arrest and prosecute.
In the meantime, the Southeast Caucus of the Senate has asked the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Muhammad Adamu, and the heads of the nation's security agencies to urgently fish out those responsible for the recent killing of people in Ebonyi communities, insisting it must not go unresolved and unpunished like others before it. Members of the caucus, in the statement by their leader and former Deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu, described the act as gruesome, warning that the Nigerian state is fast delegitimizing itself by its failure to discharge the primary purpose of government, which is security and welfare of the people. They further said that widespread killings and all manner of violent crimes across the country have continued to worsen because the perpetrators are never arrested. The lawmakers want the perpetrators to face justice, noting that to do otherwise will amount to further loss of government's exclusive power of coercion to non-state actors, leaving citizens with no option other than to resort to self-help. From the southeast to the north, where armed bandits have again killed at least 8 people and 4 others were injured in separate attacks in Chikun, Giwa and Kajuru local government areas of Kaduna State. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the armed bandits shot at a vehicle in Kanhawa, Zankoro, forcing it to somersault and killing 6 of the passengers, leaving 4 others injured. In another incident, armed bandits attacked locals at Iburu village in Kajuru local government area and killed 1 person. They also invaded Hayin Kawa village at Fatika district in Giwa local government area, where they shot 1 Alhaji Sule, a businessman, dead after he resisted their attempts to kidnap him. And over in the south state of Delta, police authorities have confirmed that 3 persons were shot dead on Tuesday during a bank robbery in Inseluku community in Anyocha local government area, carting away an undisclosed amount of money. A divisional police station was also attacked by the gunmen before the bank robbery. The Delta State Commissioner of Police visited the premises of the bank and the police station to assess the level of damage caused by the operation.
The bank robbery that shook Iseluku community in Delta State, South Nigeria. Calm returns, albeit slowly, the mayhem unleashed by robbers still fresh in the minds and conversations. 3 people were killed in the operation, which eyewitnesses say lasted for almost 1 hour.
I see some boys, I thought it's security, but they wear nose masks with a cap, putting on black with jean, with canvas. After some, about 2 hours, they came out with their Sienna again. But after that, they have already blocked the police station already.
All of a sudden, all of us they had a gunshot. So I was unable to lock my shop because the gun was just approaching very fast. Then we ran under my table with my granddaughter and 1 woman that is selling Indomie opposite me. All of us run under the table. Then the gun was too much. They were shooting, and most of those robbers, one of them was standing here. We had him running up and down. We run this side and come back. I only heard his voice. I did not raise up my head. You can hear him saying, "Raise your face and die."
The Delta State Commissioner of Police is here to assess the level of destruction at the bank. The inspection reveals the level of determination exhibited by the robbers to achieve their objective. Automated teller machines and vaults are emptied. Also hit during the raid is a community police station. The police commissioner says investigations have begun to unravel the perpetrators.
We can always be seen proactively partnering together to frustrate the intentions of some of these sinister groups. They couldn't have come and then just go there straight to the bank. They must have hibernated somewhere before carrying out this act. And I'm sure some people saw them and never reported until this incident took place, which is not good enough.
It's a mournful scene at the residence of the slain police inspector. His daughter tries to muster words. It is too painful.
The last time I spoke with my dad was yesterday. So we waited for him to come back, but we didn't see him. So yesterday night we went to the station, but it was this morning that we got the news.
As police investigation continues, the community must move on from the incident. For those who lost loved ones, however, picking up the pieces will be easier said than done.
And security is also a big concern for the Lagos State government. But another priority at this time is to ensure that Lagos State security officials are accountable. And perhaps that's why the government has launched body cameras for law enforcement agencies. The state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, rolled out the operation equipment today at the government house, Alausa. He says the equipment will help provide first-hand evidence in case of any wrongdoing.
The whole idea about body camera is to enshrine transparency and accountability of our law enforcement officers. What it means is that both the enforcer and the enforcee have a right, and they will have a means to be seen and to be adjudged who was right and who was not right. You've seen from the demonstration that even in the event that it is taken away or stolen, there's a backup in the control room that has recorded everything, and it was recording it live, and direct. And so it's not something that anybody is going to be disputing or arguing about. But more importantly, is for us to ensure that we can ensure that our law enforcement officers have all the necessary tools for them to keep our people and our state safe. And so it's a combination of technology, training, and intelligent officers that we believe will successfully be able to combat the challenges we'll see today and the ones that might raise its head in days ahead.
Still in Lagos State, the police has arraigned 60 suspected cultists before a magistrate court sitting in the Yaba area of the state. The 60 suspects, comprising 12 females and 48 males, were arraigned before Chief Magistrate Adeola Adebayo under the new anti-cultism law in Lagos. On March the 16th, the governor of Lagos State signed the anti-cultism bill into law. The new law, Prohibition of Unlawful Societies and Cultism of 2021, seeks to combat cultism in Lagos State by giving stiffer punishment to convicted cultists and those aiding them. It prescribes a 21-year jail term for convicted cultists and a 15-year jail term for those found guilty of aiding cultism and cultists. In the charge sheet signed by SP Yetunde Cardoso, the officer in charge of legal, Lagos State Police Command, majority of those arraigned today were arrested in Ikorodu between February and March on allegations of belonging to Aye cult and other unlawful societies. Some of them were also charged with being in possession of arms and causing a breach of the peace. From security to the nation's human rights record, and the United States has once again released its annual human rights report, and its focus on Nigeria is not a pat on the back for the country's efforts at keeping to the rules of engagement on human rights. Some of the areas the report focuses on include respect for the integrity of the person, respect for civil liberties, freedom to participate in the political process, corruption, and lack of transparency in government. On the NSAS protest of last year, the United States government says there is no proof indicting indicting the Nigerian army of killing any protesters at the Lekki toll gate in Lagos on October the 20th last year. The statement reads in part, accurate information on fatalities resulting from the shooting was not available as at the year's end. Amnesty International reported 10 persons died during the event, but the government disputed Amnesty's report and no other organization was able to verify the claim. The government reported 2 deaths connected to the event. One body from the toll gate showed signs of blunt force trauma. A second body from another location in Lagos State had bullet wounds. The government acknowledged that soldiers armed with live ammunition were present at the Lekki toll gate at the year's end. The Judicial Panel of Inquiry and Restitution continued to hear testimony and investigate the shooting at the Lekki toll gate. Other allegations leveled against the federal government or its agents are arbitrary, unlawful, or extrajudicial killings, repressing freedom of expression, corruption, lack of transparency, and infringement on workers' rights. In part 2, after the break, London Metropolitan Police renews appeal for information on the missing 19-year-old Nigerian student Richard Okoroge. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Gunmen attack campaign rally organized by a former central bank governor, Charles Soludo, killing 3 of his security aides. Lagos State government launches body cams for security operatives to curb rising cases of police brutality and extrajudicial killings. United States report on rights practices in Nigeria for 2020 indicts the government on some human rights practices, but concludes there is no accurate information on fatalities resulting from NSAS shooting at Lekki. And French President Emmanuel Macron announces closure of schools for at least 3 weeks to fight rising COVID-19 cases in the country. Outside the shores of the country, officers from the Metropolitan Police in London have renewed their appeal for information regarding a missing student, 19-year-old Richard Okoroge. According to his parents, who are of Nigerian descent, the teenager, who suffers from sickle cell anemia, was struggling to cope with the lockdown and has been missing for over a week. Our London correspondent Juliana Olainka has more.
This 19-year-old student, Richard Okoroge, is missing. His last confirmed sighting was over a week ago when he was seen boarding a bus at 8:44 p.m. in the evening. His sudden disappearance and the initial muted police response has caused outrage among the capital's black community.
Richard hasn't been seen since the evening of Monday, March the 22nd. He called his mother, explaining that he'd be going to see his friends, but he didn't turn up and nobody has seen him since. This is the area where he went missing, which is the Ladbroke Grove side of West London. The parents are in absolute anguish.
He's a giant on that. He's a tall, strong man, and he enjoys talking to his friends and things about in a point he got cut off from his friends, and somehow I don't know how it happened that they met some people, or we're not very 100% sure, but we know that this is happening. So it's been very devastating as well. Yeah, I don't know how to describe, but it is serious. We want to do now is how to get him back. Make sure we have him by the grace of God at home, and then tell us his story as well. Richard has been on some kind of setting at home, and after some time I think that got him very depressed in some ways. And when you keep somebody in a house for a month plus, it's very, and with all these things happening, harder to read. So that's where it gets really I think he got really fed up just of everything, so I bolted for a few days and we're still waiting to get him back.
When Richard's family first reported him missing to the police and suggested they check CCTV near their home, they were told they did not have the resources. This disregard of the teenager's welfare is what led to the case being widely shared on social media. Detectives have released this new image of the missing student as the teenager's mother pleads for the public's help with the investigation. Juliana Olayinka reporting for Channels TV News in London.
Very disturbing. We cross over to Abuja now, and here's Terry Kumi. Terry.
Hi, Ijama. Welcome to Abuja. The federal government is proposing to spend 396 billion naira for COVID-19 vaccination in 2021 and 2022. The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, explains that the figure may significantly reduce as the federal government receives more donations of the vaccines from the private sector. Mrs. Ahmed made the disclosure after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting, which was presided over by Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
Sometime in January, the President has, based on a request by the Ministry of Health, given an in-principle approval for the Ministry of Health to work with the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to prepare and take to the National Assembly a supplementary budget for COVID-19 vaccination. The submission that was made to Mr. President at that time was in the sum of 399 billion. But included in this 399 billion was a 103 billion for building of primary health care centers. So we've worked with and met several times with the ministry. We've agreed that we'll back out this building of primary health care centers that can wait till later. So there's still a provision of 396 billion for COVID-19 vaccinations for 2021 and 2022.
Meanwhile, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan is asking the federal government to explore the option of collaborating with international agencies and Nigerian scientists abroad to develop the country's own vaccine. Senator Lawan shared his thoughts during the presentation of a research work at the National Assembly. He notes that production of vaccines in Nigeria is of utmost importance, particularly because the country has a large population which must be vaccinated to manage the pandemic.
Nigeria may not achieve the herd immunity in the next 4 or 5 years with our 200 million population. And this is not a fact based on any scientific research. I don't want to be misquoted. I am assuming that if it will take the US up to probably the end of this year to achieve 70-75% of vaccination for those that are within the age bracket, some countries, developed countries, may be looking at next year with our 200 million or even more. And so far we have only about 4 million. I don't know how we can get 70% of our people vaccinated, and that will translate into about 150 million or even more, to vaccinate them in the next 2 years or even 3 years. So we need to work hard, provide the legislative intervention in terms of resources and environment for our scientists to work.
Kaduna State High Court has again adjourned the trial of the embattled leader of the Islamic movement in Nigeria, Sheikh Ibrahim El-Zakzaki, and his wife, Zinat, to May the 25th for continuation of hearing on the case during today's sitting. During today's sitting, the prosecuting counsel, Dari Bayero, rested his case by presenting his last witness and also prayed the court to overrule the no-case submission by the defense counsel. This brings the total number of witnesses called by the prosecution to 15. Counsel to El Zakzaki, Abubakar Marshall, who represented the lead counsel, Mr. Femi Falano, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is expected to open his defense during the next adjourned date. He, however, told reporters that he will be entering a no-case submission for the defendants, adding that there is no criminal case so far that has been established against the defendants by the Kaduna State government. El Zakzaki and his wife are standing trial on an 8-count charge bordering on alleged culpable homicide, unlawful assembly and disruption of public peace, among others. El Zakzaki and his wife Zinat have been in detention since their arrest in December 2015, following a bloody clash between IMN members and soldiers in Zaria, Kaduna State. When the News at 10 returns, World Bank says prospects for sub-Saharan Africa recovery are strengthening amid actions to contain new waves of COVID-19 and speed up vaccine rollout. That's on Business News. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the News at 10. The Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, is reiterating the government's commitment to providing quality road infrastructure across the nation. Mr. Fashola says the quality of road construction across the nation cannot be compromised, as the ministry has the manpower and technical expertise to build roads of international standard. He was speaking during an inspection visit to Section 1 and 2 of the ongoing dualization expansion of the Abuja-Kefi-Akwanga Road construction project.
It would be built to the quality of any road in any other part of the world. It would be a place where you would love to commute, you would love to drive. I think that ultimately the purpose was to make life better for those who use that axis, to reduce the travel time, to reduce the congestion around there, and that is essentially what we hope and believe we will see when it's all done. So, and that will make all the sacrifice worthwhile. It's the link between the North Central and the Northeast, because this is the road that takes you all the way to Makurdi, to Gombe, and from there you can proceed as far as Taraba, as we once did. So it's a very, very critical and strategic highway for linking the North Central to the Northeast, and from there to other parts of the country as well.
And staying with infrastructure, the Ogun State government says it's addressing the infrastructure deficit to ensure the successful implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Zone Agreement. And this was revealed in Abeokuta when members of the National Action Committee on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement visited the state capital to create awareness.
The National Action Committee of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement is in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The visit, which is advocacy and sensitization driven, is part of its engagement to facilitate full implementation of the agreement. The Free Trade Agreement seeks to create a single market towards deepening economic integration among African countries, and the committee considers it important for state governments to key into the initiative.
Our expectation is that through this, the internally generated revenue of the state will increase, businesses will expand domestically and continentally, employment will be provided, and the economy will be much better and healthier.
Ogun State government commits to the programs, particularly because of the benefits inherent for residents.
As the industrial hub of Nigeria and investors' destination of choice in Nigeria, our aim in Ogun State is to continue to leverage on our proximity to the West African corridor as well as Lagos, the fifth largest economy in Africa, towards improving investments in our state.
Now, the Gateway State is establishing 5 new economic clusters in Abeokuta, Ijebu-Ode, Magboro, Remo, and Lusada.
The reason why we created these clusters is really to provide a one-stop shop with value chain and synergistic effects to attract companies to come and set up in Ogun State so as to achieve global competitiveness. No matter what you do, if you do not create an environment that is globally competitive for companies to come, you are not going to be able to attract that investment.
The government is confident that these clusters will attract foreign direct investment to the state.
World-class manufacturing facilities, Ogun State.
Let's take a look at some business news now, and here's Anne Wilder.
Thank you, Ijoma. Hello and welcome to Business News. The World Bank says that prospects for sub-Saharan Africa recovery are strengthening on efforts aimed at increasing the pace of vaccine rollout to contain the new wave of COVID-19. In its latest report on the continent, the International Finance Institution explained that a slower spread of the virus and a lower COVID-19 related mortality, strong agricultural growth, and a faster than expected recovery in commodity prices have all helped many African economies reduce the economic impact of the pandemic. Meanwhile, World Bank says the recovery is expected to vary across countries on the continent, as Western and Central Africa's sub-region real GDP is expected to grow 2.1% in 2021 and 3.0% in 2022, while growth in the region has been forecast to rise between 2.3 and 3.4% in the year. And to some company news now, Bua Cement says that its net tax profit for 2020 has grown by 19.4% to 72.34 billion naira, and that's in contrast to 60.34 billion naira posted in its full year result for 2019. According to the latest audited financial statement sent to the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the industrial giant also recorded 19.3% increase in revenue, 19.1% surge in pre-tax profit, and 19.6% growth in earnings per share. The company also says its sale volume also rose by more than 13%, which translates to about 600,000 tons to 5.1 million tons last year. And more company news, GlaxoSmithKline has also released its full-year earnings result for the year 2020. It shows a mixed performance within the year under review. According to its financial statements, the company's gross profit came higher at 21.29 billion naira, as against 20.76 billion naira reported last year. At the same time, its revenue was lower at 5.91 billion naira. Pre-tax profit was slightly lower at 1 billion naira, while its net profit trimmed to 622.23 million naira. The company's earnings per share stood at 52 kobo as at December the 31st, 2020. And let's head to the domestic stock market. It ended the last trading day in the month of March and the first quarter in the red due to listed companies rushing to submit their audited results for the year 2020. Oviebi Como tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm Oviebi Como. The negative sentiment seen at the market yesterday was sustained in midweek trading as the all-share index declined by the same margin as the previous trading session. Activity level was mostly negative today. However, there was a slight increase in volume traded while value in deals declined. The gains from insurance, consumer goods, and oil and gas counters were not enough to overturn the overall index as the banking sector declined 0.84%. On the list of top trades today are Wema, Union, and Zenith Banks. That's the Stock Market Report. I'm Oviebi Como.
Well, let's hope for a positive month of April. And that's Business News tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Wawadu. It's back to you, Joma.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, French President Emmanuel Macron announces closure of schools for at least 3 weeks to fight rising COVID cases. And more from our London studio in Around the World in 5. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Now, we have an update on the story we brought to you earlier about the missing 19-year-old in London. Now, the UK Metropolitan Police have established that Richard, the missing 19-year-old boy, took a taxi from the W2 area of London to a residential street in Essex. He was captured on CCTV walking alone on Smart Lane in Essex towards Epping Forest on Tuesday. Detectives are working around the clock to trace his next steps after this sighting and have begun searches in and around the forest, as well as carrying out door-to-door inquiries. They're also working alongside specialist search teams and colleagues from the Essex Police. France has announced that schools in the country will be shut for at least 3 weeks as part of the new national restrictions to fight rising COVID-19 cases in the country. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is facing the biggest crisis of his presidency after the heads of the Army, Navy and Air Force all quit and the country recorded its highest daily COVID-19 death toll. The unprecedented resignations of the defence chiefs is being seen as a protest at attempts by Mr. Bolsonaro to exert undue control over the military. Mr. Bolsonaro's popularity has plummeted over his response to COVID-19.
I think with the way Brazil itself was...
With the military chiefs, also the foreign minister and the defence minister have left their office within days of each other. It is reportedly the first time in Brazilian history that the chiefs of the Army, Navy and Air Force have stood down together over a disagreement with the president. The Italian military police have announced an Italian Navy officer has been arrested in the act of handing secret documents to a Russian military official. The two men were stopped by the military police on suspicion of serious crimes relating to espionage and state security. Russia's ambassador Sergei Razov has been summoned to the foreign ministry in Rome, and the foreign minister Luigi Di Maio announced 2 Russian diplomats will be expelled from Italy. Local media report the papers seized in the Italian officer's flat suggest he may have passed on NATO secrets, thereby placing other countries' national security at risk. Indonesian search teams have retrieved the missing voice recorder from the airplane that crashed into the Java Sea in January, killing all 62 people on board. Officials said it was found under 1 metre of mud and that it would take up to a week to retrieve the recording. The authorities hope that data from the black box can give vital clues on the possible cause of the tragedy. Flight SJ182 crashed minutes after taking off from Jakarta. The Mozambican government has sent troops to the northern city of Palma following a deadly attack by Islamic State-linked insurgents. Tens of thousands of people are feared to have been displaced following the attack. Many of those fleeing were believed to have scattered into dense forest or to have attempted to escape by boat when the city of Palma came under attack on Wednesday. Mozambique's government has confirmed dozens of deaths. Rescue workers and volunteers are scrambling to rescue 11 trapped miners in Nera in Colombia, with hope of finding survivors diminishing by the minute. According to reports, an illegal mine flooded last week on Friday, with the trapped miners now having spent nearly 4 days underground. Family members of the miners, as well as volunteer rescue workers, gathered for a mass near the site of the mine, hopeful that a water pump used to extract water from the shaft will prove successful. Virgin Galactic has unveiled its new spaceship, VSS Imagine, the first of the company's latest generation of commercial spaceships. Sleek and silver, this spaceship may one day be blasting people into orbit. Virgin Galactic founder Richard Branson said the VSS Imagine will start its test flight program in the summer with the hope to offer new horizons and fresh perspectives about the planet's future to whoever will travel in space with Virgin. Meanwhile, SpaceX engineers have said they are investigating why the unmanned Starship prototype rocket appeared to explode on its way back down to Earth after a test launch from Texas. Debris from the spacecraft was found scattered 5 miles away from its landing site. Later, the founder and CEO of SpaceX, Elon Musk, said on Twitter that something had happened shortly after the landing procedure started and investigations were ongoing. And finally, Britain's Glastonbury Festival will hold a live stream concert in May, with Coldplay among the performers after its usual Greenfield music event was cancelled. The 5-hour show will take place on May the 22nd and be filmed and shown online. In January, organisers said Glastonbury had to be cancelled for a second year because of the pandemic. Normally, over 200,000 people attend the 5-day festival. Tickets for the gig have already gone on sale, with proceeds supporting Glastonbury's 3 main charitable causes: Oxfam, Greenpeace and WaterAid. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks a lot, Simon. Again, to just bring you and just keep you up to speed with that story we have on the missing 19-year-old in London. Just to say that the UK Metropolitan Police have established that Richard took a taxi from the WT area of London to a residential street in Essex. He was captured on CCTV walking alone on Smart Lane in Essex towards Epping Forest, and that was on Tuesday. Now, detectives are working around the clock to trace his next steps after this particular sighting and have begun searches in and around the forest, as well as carrying out door-to-door inquiries. They're also working alongside specialist search teams and colleagues from the Essex Police. Detective Chief Inspector Nikki Beecher from the Met's Area West Public Protection Unit said, "It has now been 9 days since Richard was last seen in person, and we remain as committed as ever to locating him and bringing him home to his family."
Welcome to Sports News. Ahead of the National Sports Festival tagged Edo 2020, the Federal Capital Territory Sports Council is optimistic about improving on its last performance in 2018. The FCT will be participating in 27 sports to improve on its 7th position attained in 2018.
These are some of the athletes expected to represent the Federal Capital Territory at this year's National Sports Festival. The athletes are concluding their preparations as the game kicks off in a matter of days. The FCT Director of Sports insists they are ready for the games.
FCT contingent had been in camp for nearly 2 weeks now, and the camping exercise has been an extensive one with all the coaches and sport managers who are mentally alert and prepared and are doing the best they could in equipping the athletes.
For the coaches, the epileptic nature of the festival will not have any effect on their performance.
Our preparation is on the top gear, and as we are here in the camp, all our children, we have to work them out and then make sure there's a good result.
Our spirit is very high because we just have some few days to go, and if not for the postponement that has been occurring in the sport festival, we'll have at least been more prepared than this.
Our athletes are informed. We are intact. Waiting anytime the festival is ready, we are ready for the festival.
The FCT will be participating in 27 sports, and the team is confident of winning more medals.
We are defending champion, and we are hoping to go to Edo to go and defend the gold we won 2 years ago.
We have been preparing for a long time now, and now by His grace of God, we know we are fully prepared, and we are going and coming back with a victory and a smile on our face.
I think in the last National Sport Festival, if I'm to talk wholly for the team, we came 7th overall. So our aim for Edo 2020, tagged Edo 2020, is to come the best overall.
And that's it on Sports News. Ijema, back to you.
Thanks a lot, Olumide. And the main news again. Gunmen today attacked a campaign rally organized by former Central Bank Governor Charles Soludo, killing 3 of his security aides. And also today, the UK Metropolitan Police say they've established the last sighting of the missing 19-year-old teenager Richard Okoroge. While detectives work around the clock, the Detective Chief Inspector Nikki Beecher said, "It has now been 9 days since Richard was last seen in person, and we remain as committed as ever to locating him and bringing him home to his family." Our thoughts and prayers are with them. That's the news at 10 tonight. I'm Ijoma Onyato. Thanks a lot for watching. Good night.